Let me set the record straight right now. This isn't your typical isekai where a loser gets cheat powers and instantly becomes a hero. This is the story of a 34-year-old virgin shut-in who died saving 2 students from a truck, got reincarnated as a baby in a world of magic and swords, and then spent his second chance at life doing what any self-respecting degenerate would do, trying to touch breasts, collect panties, and become the most overpowered pervert the fantasy world has ever seen. And somehow, despite all his creepy tendencies, he ends up becoming the most respected mage of his generation. Welcome to Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. The anime kicks off with a guy getting absolutely demolished by a truck. He pushed 2 students out of the way and took the hit himself. Classic hero move. Next thing he knows, he's in a hospital bed, doctors trying to save his life, but he can feel himself slipping away. His only regret? He never lost his virginity. Because of course that's what's on his mind while he's dying. He was a complete otaku who never left his room. As he fades out, he hears voices, and then, bam, he wakes up again. But now he's a baby, lying in a crib, staring up at a couple who are apparently his new parents. This is Paul Greyrat and Zenith Greyrat, along with their maid, Lilia. Our protagonist, now reborn as Rudeus Greyrat, has all the memories of his past life. He was 34 years old, and now he's stuck in a baby's body with a fully grown pervert brain. Months pass, and Rudeus learns the language of this world. He's still a complete degenerate, already checking out Lilia whenever he gets the chance. One day, while looking out the window, he sees Paul training outside. Rudeus gets so surprised he slips and falls. Zenith casually casts a healing spell, and suddenly Rudeus realizes this world has magic, real, actual magic. He's not in Kansas anymore. Over the next few months, he learns to walk and starts exploring the house. He finds a locked chest upstairs, breaks in, and discovers a bunch of books. Turns out his family only owns 5 books total. Either they don't like reading or books are expensive. Rudeus decides his priority is learning to read them. With Paul's help, he slowly picks up literacy, and those few books become his obsession. They're magic guides, explaining 2 ways to cast spells: incantations and magic circles. Rudeus learns that everyone is born with a fixed amount of mana, so he figures he probably doesn't have much, but he's got nothing to lose, so he tries reciting a spell from the book. He feels a strange sensation throughout his body and creates a ball of water. He keeps practicing and discovers something insane. He can cast spells without speaking the incantation. Just by concentrating and visualizing, the magic happens. But using too much mana makes him pass out cold. He dedicates himself to practicing magic, even though the book says the more you use it, the stronger you get. He feels like that's a lie because he doesn't notice any difference, but over time his power does increase. One day, while Paul is training and being admired by all the village girls, a water ball smacks him in the face. It's Rudeus, hiding and sniping from long distance. He's figured out how to control the speed and power of his attacks. Now he's ready for intermediate magic. He casts a powerful spell that blows up a wall. His parents rush in thinking monsters are attacking. Zenith sees the book and asks if he read the incantation aloud. He confirms, and she gets emotional, calling him a genius. She recommends hiring a magic tutor. Paul argues that if his son were a real man, he'd be a swordsman. Lilia suggests he do magic in the morning and swordsmanship in the afternoon. Days later, they decide to hire a tutor. Everyone expects some old bearded wizard. Instead, a very young girl named Roxy McGordia shows up. Rudeus thinks she looks childish and timid, which is apparently his type. He immediately declares he wants to marry her someday. Roxy, skeptical, says she hopes she won't waste her time. Lots of parents think their kids are talented. She'll do her best with them. Time passes. Roxy explains the 3 types of magic: attack, dark, and summoning. Magic is divided into different levels, all the way up to sacred. She demonstrates a spell by destroying a tree, then immediately heals it because Zenith apparently loved that tree. Rudeus is impressed. Now it's his turn. He doesn't want her to know he can cast without incantations, so he starts reciting the spell. But a breeze lifts Roxy's skirt, he gets nervous, and he launches the spell without finishing the incantation. Roxy notices. He has to admit he never uses incantations. She's shocked and says it'll be worth teaching him. People who don't need incantations are extremely rare. Roxy feels a bit sad when he accidentally destroys the tree again, thinking she'll be fired. Rudeus reassures her. That night, the family throws a welcome banquet for Roxy. Rudeus reflects on how amazing his new life is compared to his past existence as a lazy gamer who did nothing but play video games all day. Flashback to his previous life. Some guys came to his apartment, beat him up, and kicked him out. He wandered the city in the rain, miserable, until he saw students arguing. They were about to get hit by a truck. He pushed them out of the way and got crushed instead. Back in the present, Rudeus practices making earth figures with his magic. He overhears his parents making his future little sister. They're constantly at it. Being a complete pervert, he thinks about sneaking into their room to watch, but he finds Roxy already eavesdropping too, so he goes back to his room, not regretting what he saw. 6 months later, Roxy has been an excellent teacher. Rudeus can now use intermediate magic without issues. He even gets night lessons. One evening, Roxy is reading a book about the origin of magic. Rudeus, being sneaky, keeps glancing at her underwear. He asks if this world has demons and spirits. Roxy says she is a demon. That's why his parents were startled when they met her. It's because of her hair color. She explains the history of a demon race called the Supered. Long ago, there was a war between humans and demons called the Laplace War. The Supered slaughtered everyone, including children and women, which made all races hate them and drove them from the demon continent. Since she was a girl, there were stories that if children stayed up late, the Supered would come and devour them. She adds that they have a gem on their forehead, so if Rudeus ever encounters one, he should run immediately. Roxy says she doesn't like her hair color. Rudeus, smooth as ever, says he likes it. She tells him that if he feels the same in 10 years, he can say it again, implying he's too young. Months later, Rudeus is 4 years old. His training with Roxy has progressed a lot. Paul gets frustrated because his son is still far from mastering the sword. Rudeus watches other kids playing and remembers the bullying he endured in his past life. Roxy appears and says her homeland doesn't have as many plants and trees as this place, so she enjoys the scenery. She points out the Red Dragon Mountains. Beyond them lies a country called Asura. In Asura is the Ranoa University of Magic, the best magic school in the world. Regardless of race, everyone is welcome. If Rudeus wants to continue learning magic, she recommends going. He says she's the only teacher he needs. She tells him not to call her that because she knows he'll surpass her. Months pass. The household prepares a celebration for Rudeus's 5th birthday. In this world, birthdays are only celebrated every 5 years. Paul gives him a sword, lecturing about the importance of close combat and protecting loved ones. Zenith gives him a book he really wanted. Roxy gives him a staff with a magic gem that amplifies power. Rudeus proudly notes that in such a short time he's learned 4 types of advanced attack magic. Tomorrow is his final graduation exam, which catches him off guard. That night, Rudeus stares out the window, remembering his past traumas. He wishes he had a reason to move forward and not feel so terrible. He wonders if he should take advantage of this second chance at life. The next day, the family sees Roxy off. She's leaving to travel the world and learn more magic. She says she has nothing left to teach him. She gives him a pendant from her village and says she wished they'd had time for a real farewell party. Rudeus says he'll treasure it. As she leaves, Lilia discovers he kept Roxy's panties, caught red-handed. Days later, Rudeus tells his parents he wants to go outside and play. They're emotional because they thought he was sick from never leaving the house. He asks his father what he needs to do to carry on the Greyrat name. Paul sarcastically says he needs to have 2 girlfriends and bring them home. He adds that a man's strength isn't physical, but in how he treats a woman. After a brief conversation, Rudeus heads out. While walking, he sees some kids bullying someone. They're throwing mud balls at a kid in a hood. One picks up a rock and Rudeus intervenes. The bullies try to attack, but he uses water magic to scare them off. He sees the kid's face under the hood and thinks it's quite pretty. He uses water magic to clean the kid's head. He remembers Roxy's warning about the Supered and checks the forehead. No gem. He dries the kid's hair with wind magic. The kid says his father is half-elf, but he has green hair unlike either parent, and starts crying. Rudeus calms him down, noting he seems sensitive. They walk to a meadow and Rudeus asks his name. The kid says Sylph. Rudeus still thinks it's a boy, a pretty boy who will help him attract beautiful girls. He declares they're friends now. They spend the afternoon practicing magic. Rudeus walks him home and returns to find Paul furious. Someone reported that Rudeus beat up several kids. He tries to explain they were bullying Sylph, but Paul won't listen and slaps him. Paul says he shouldn't have hit them. Rudeus sarcastically says next time he'll join the bullies to make it 4 against 1, and when he grows up he'll change his name because he's ashamed of the Greyrat name. Paul reflects and apologizes. They go inside. Sylph's mother is there complaining about what Rudeus did. Paul apologizes to them too. Later, Zenith talks to Paul, who feels bad about his actions. Apparently his own father was similar. Months pass. The bullies keep picking fights and keep getting beaten up. Their mothers complain. Rudeus is training on the ground when Sylph appears. She's improved considerably, able to cast many spells he taught her. She's interested in the spell he used before, the silent casting. He explains and she manages to do it too. They're both thrilled. Rudeus still thinks it's a boy. It starts raining, so they head to his house. Lilia has towels ready and says the hot bath is prepared. Rudeus says goodbye to Sylph and suggests they undress and get in together. He takes off her shirt, confused why she's shy. He pulls down her pants and sees everything. She starts crying. Paul arrives, takes her away, and scolds Rudeus. Later, they apologize. Rudeus explains he thought she was a boy because of her short hair. She cries again. The next day, Rudeus and Paul practice swordsmanship. Rudeus is depressed because he couldn't reconcile with his friend. Paul, a supposed ladies' man, says women like strength but also enjoy seeing a man's weakness. He tells Rudeus to show his vulnerable side. Sylph appears and Paul pushes Rudeus toward her. Rudeus is nervous and says things that scare her, but eventually relaxes and talks normally. They reconcile. Months later, Zenith is pregnant again. Lilia drops a bombshell. She's also pregnant. Paul admits it might be his. Zenith punches him. That night, the two women talk. Lilia says she'll leave after helping with the birth, but the journey is long and it will be winter. Rudeus overhears and realizes it's too risky. Lilia could faint and lose the baby. Zenith is torn. Despite what happened, Lilia has been like family. Rudeus knows Lilia also protected him by not telling his parents about Roxy's panties. He steps in and manipulates the situation, putting the blame on Paul. He says he doesn't want to say goodbye to Lilia or his future sibling. Zenith agrees and tells Lilia she can stay as part of the Greyrat family. Lilia cries with joy. Zenith tells Paul they'll talk later. Winter comes. Paul and Rudeus practice swordsmanship while Lilia watches. A flashback reveals Lilia was the one who seduced Paul, and she never liked Rudeus because he looked at her with lustful eyes. But he turned out to be a good kid and saved her from this situation, so she owes him. Months later, the babies are born. 2 beautiful girls, Aisha and Norn. Now both women raise their daughters together. Rudeus says he'll be a good big brother. His relationship with Lilia improves significantly. Days later, while training, Rudeus tries to use magic, but Paul strikes him. Paul says he hopes Rudeus will become like him someday. Rudeus, ever the sensible one, says he'd never cheat on his future wife. They talk, and Paul notes he's been spending a lot of time with Sylph. Rudeus thinks she's pretty. Paul changes the subject, saying Rudeus shouldn't go to school because he can already read and write. Schools are full of rich boys, and there aren't as many girls as he imagines. Rudeus is disappointed. Later, Sylph and Rudeus talk under a tree. He feels stagnant in life. Neither magic nor swordplay is progressing. He thinks about leaving. Sylph throws herself at him, crying, begging him not to go and leave her alone. He calms her down and decides to stay, thinking he'll mold her into his future wife. That night, Paul enters his room with a letter from Roxy. It's been 2 years since they last saw each other. She's in the castle of the Kingdom of Chiron, hired as a tutor for the 7th prince. The prince is smart, but a pervert. He watches her dress and steals her underwear, just like Rudeus did. She's mastered water magic to the royal level. She thought she couldn't improve further, but she did. She ends the letter by reminding him to enter Ranawa University of Magic if he wants to advance. Paul notes that reaching royal level is a huge achievement. Very few mages do. He asks Rudeus if he stole her panties. The next morning at breakfast, Rudeus is sad. He wants to go to the University of Magic, but Sylph cried when she found out. Since his family is better off than hers, he asks Paul to pay for both their enrollments. Paul refuses for two reasons. First, Rudeus is still young despite being smart. Second, money. He could pay for one, but an extra would be too much. Rudeus asks for a job to save up. Paul agrees. Days later, a carriage arrives. A warrior woman who's half-beast named Gislin steps out. She congratulates Zenith on her daughter. Lilia and Zenith say goodbye to Rudeus, who's confused. Paul tells him what's happening. He's being sent away to work as a tutor for a noble girl. Paul tests him by saying he's ordered to stay away from Sylph. Rudeus says he wouldn't follow that order. Paul attacks. Rudeus dodges, uses a combat technique, and defeats Paul from behind. Hours later, Rudeus wakes up in a carriage with Gislin. She says they're partners now and hands him a letter from Paul. It says he got Rudeus a job as a tutor for a 9-year-old girl in Roa. Gislin is the bodyguard and instructor. She'll teach him to fight in exchange for him teaching her things she wants to know. She's a royal-level warrior. He'll be there for 5 years until he turns 12. Paul forbids him from returning early, all because Rudeus was becoming too dependent on Sylph. Rudeus realizes it's the best decision. She won't be emotionally dependent on him either. They arrive at a mansion. A man named Philip Boreas Greyrat, the current mayor of the city, greets them. He's Paul's cousin. He asks what Rudeus knows about the job. Rudeus says he knows he'll be a tutor for 5 years to get into the university. Philip says the girl is his daughter. They go to meet her. Philip warns that she's stubborn and ill-mannered. They arrive and Rudeus senses danger. The girl is Eris Boreas Greyrat. He introduces himself. She's clearly spoiled. When he contradicts her, she slaps him. He slaps her back. Everyone is shocked. She goes berserk, punching and climbing on him. He uses wind magic to push her away and runs. Later, Philip asks if he gives up. Rudeus's pride won't allow it. He comes up with a plan. That night, he explains it. The next day, he wakes up tied in a box. Eris is in another box. His plan is to make them think they've been kidnapped to show her the importance of magic. Eris screams for Gislaine, but a rude man comes in and beats her up. Rudeus heals her halfway, enough to stop her from screaming. He says she'd know healing spells if she studied. He listens at the door, senses something off, and decides they need to escape. He uses earth magic to remove the bars. Eris asks for help. He refuses, telling her to use violence like she's used to. She promises not to be violent or scream. He agrees. They escape. In an alley, he heals her. She breaks her promise and yells at him. He says he'll leave her. She hears the men approaching and follows him. They reach a carriage stop. She can't read, so he explains the importance of studying. On the way back, they see men on horseback. Back in town, Rudeus spots one of Philip's men. Just as he's relieved, someone kidnaps Eris. He chases them and uses earth magic to stop them. The men recognize his talent and try to bribe him with gold coins. He considers it would pay for both university enrollments. They manipulate him, saying a boy like him knows the value of money, but Rudeus, with an adult's mind, knows there are more important things. He lived 20 years as a lazy bum watching shows and playing games. He creates a fireball, shoots ice into it like fireworks, then launches earth spikes. One hits the men, freeing Eris. He grabs her and runs. One man throws a sword. Rudeus sees it in slow motion, remembering Paul's warning about thrown swords. Just before it hits, Gislaine appears and pulverizes the sword. In one move, she cuts down 2 men. A head falls in front of Rudeus. He's in shock. He's never seen such a bloody scene. Gislaine says she came because of the explosion, the fireball. Philip's man is still there. They return to the mansion. Philip was waiting. Gislaine hands over the traitor. Eris, proud, says the promise was only until they got to home. Rudeus, thinking he doesn't want to die a second time, starts to leave sadly, but Eris says he can stay and work a little. Rudeus is overjoyed. The next day, Rudeus talks with Philip about the kidnapping. He asks why they wanted him. Philip partly explains it's because of his Greyrat lineage. Rudeus thinks it's best the other Greyrats know about him. They're interrupted by Eris's mother, Hilda Boreas Greyrat. She's serious and doesn't say a word to Rudeus. Then comes Saurus Boreas Greyrat, the head of the family and Philip's father. He's imposing. He says he heard Rudeus saved his granddaughter. Rudeus deflects, saying Gislaine did everything. Saurus punches his son for not properly thanking someone who saved his daughter. He's just like Eris. Saurus asks Rudeus to teach Eris magic. She won't stop talking about the spells. Rudeus agrees, but says Saurus should have Eris ask for it herself. Saurus swallows her pride and cutely asks him to teach him. Saurus is overjoyed. The butler, Alphonse, explains that the family follows beast people, so this pose is an imitation of animals with droopy ears. Time passes. Eris, Rudeus, and Ghislaine train. Eris casts her first fire spell. Rudeus is proud. He also loves making figures with his magic. Days later, he's teaching Ghislaine basic math when Eris gets excited and sets her bed on fire. Rudeus puts it out with water. She runs away. He chases her. He narrates that for the past month he's been her tutor, but whenever it's time to learn reading and writing, she always escapes. He finds her sleeping in the stadium. Being a pervert, he takes the opportunity to touch her large breasts. She's not reacting, so he thinks about taking off her underwear. She wakes up and beats him up. Desperate, he asks Ghislaine for help. The next day, Ghislaine tells a story. She used to belong to a group called the Black Wolf's Fangs. They handled resources and provisions. She asks Eris if she ever got into trouble for not knowing math. It's a plan to get Eris interested in studying. Ghislaine says after Zenith and Paul married, she continued traveling alone. She didn't know how to count money, so she mismanaged it and went days without food or water. In desperation, she ate monster dung and got terrible diarrhea. That's why studying is important. Eris gets motivated and asks for the next lesson. That afternoon, Eris's sword skills have improved so much she beats Rudeus easily. She's thrilled. Ghislaine points out she's older and has been training longer. They keep at it. That night, Rudeus is tired but sees a figure he made of Sylph and finds the strength to continue for the next 5 years. Days later, Eris has been studying hard but is getting stressed. Rudeus hasn't given her a single day off. She plans a shopping trip to the market. While walking, Rudeus tells her she looks beautiful. She punches him. They reach the market. Eris is excited. A merchant offers Rudeus a special product, a medicine from the Asura Palace that's basically an aphrodisiac. The girls appear behind him. He quickly says he was just checking prices. He gives a math example. Only Ghislaine answers correctly. He praises Eris anyway. Later they look at books. They're expensive, about 7 gold coins. Eris says she can buy one with her grandfather's money. Rudeus lectures her about not spending money that isn't hers. He and Ghislaine only earn 2 gold coins a month. She should have her own allowance. He'll talk to her grandfather. On the way back, Rudeus sees a huge structure in the sky. Ghislaine explains it's the floating fortress of Perugius, the armored dragon king. Eris adds that he's one of the 3 heroes who defeated the demon god Laplace. Rudeus has heard of Laplace, a demon who tried to exterminate humans. He remembers his parents reading that story when he was small. He thought it was just fairy tales. Ghislaine says the fortress has been in the air for 400 years. Rudeus thinks it would be amazing to visit someday. Days later, Eris gives Rudeus the aphrodisiac as a gift. She asks what it does. He panics. Ghislaine says she bought it with her allowance. Rudeus tries to change the subject, but she keeps asking. He drops the bottle. They tickle him until he tells the truth. Weeks pass. Rudeus finishes a figure of Roxy, complete with her panties. A woman named Edna approaches him. She needs help. Eris's 10th birthday party is coming up, and the main event is a dance. Eris is struggling with lessons. Rudeus agrees to help. The next day, Philip shows Rudeus a book created by the Beast Goddess. Rudeus doesn't understand it. Philip says it's how he hired Ghislaine. Rudeus admits he has a thing for beast ears. They share the same taste. Philip gives him special permission to use the books. Rudeus wants the beast language book to learn other tongues. Days later, he writes a letter to Roxy about his plans. He's desperate because learning demon and beast languages is hard. He hears a noise. Eris has run away from her dance lesson with Edna. Edna begs him to convince Eris to continue. Rudeus finds Eris, who refuses to go to the party because she doesn't want to do something she's bad at. He remembers how in his past life, he let many opportunities slip because he didn't try hard enough. Eris says she wishes she were like him, good at everything. He says he struggles too, but he loves obstacles because the harder something is, the more he enjoys mastering it. She reflects and agrees to practice. They dance, but she's a disaster and throws him into a wall. He thinks it'll take a miracle. Over the following days, he continues learning languages with Ghislaine's help and sells the Roxy figure to a merchant. Eris improves. One night, he's frustrated with the languages when a package arrives. It's a scroll from Roxy. She made a handmade book to help him with demon tongue. She also mentioned the perverted prince bought a figure that looked like her. Rudeus is happy. The figure he sold reached the kingdom of Chiron. The next day, Eris dances much better. Edna says she's ready. The party arrives. Rudeus is there. Saurus announces the main event. A boy asks Eris to dance. She starts fast and falls in front of everyone. They whisper about how she's always a disaster. Rudeus feels for her, steps up, and asks for her hand. He guides her with a trick he knows, using sword training techniques. She dances perfectly, stunning everyone. Edna asks how he did it. He says he just corrected her overly fast movements. Now he has many followers wanting to be with him. That night, he gives Ghislain and Eris magic staffs with gems, as Roxy taught him. Ghislain also gives Eris a ring from the Beast People's legacy. Eris thanks him. The next morning, Rudeus wakes up next to Eris. He gets excited but lets her sleep. He goes up a tower and hears someone having sex. At the top, he finds Saurus with a beast girl. They talk. Saurus points at a strange object in the sky. Neither knows what it is. Saurus says it doesn't seem dangerous. Months pass. Rudeus approaches his 10th birthday. Eris has advanced tremendously in sword training. She and Ghislain plan a surprise party. Rudeus peeks and sees them preparing. He steps away, explaining that the Boreas family can't publicize him too much. He recently learned his father's full name is Paul Rudeus Greyrat. The Nodos are one of 4 Greyrat families. The current head is Paul's brother, and there's a secret plot to remove him from power. If someone from the Nodos family is being protected by the Boreas, it could cause misunderstandings. That's why his party must be much smaller than Eris's. Later, Rudeus is with Ghislain. The servants seem restless. Ghislain tries to distract him by asking if he's learned the 3 languages. He confirms, impressing her. She says she's hungry and they should get a snack, trying to block his path. Rudeus realizes it's his birthday. He shows her his figures. She's fascinated but notes one is missing a tail. He says he didn't know what a beast tail base looks like. Ghislain immediately drops her pants. Rudeus is stunned by her muscular buttocks, like rocks. A servant walks in on this compromising scene. Later, they bring him to a hall where everyone celebrates his birthday. He pretends to be surprised, starts crying, and says he thought they hated him. Saurus gets emotional and declares he'll kill a man named Pylamon and put Rudeus at the head of the Nodos. His family quickly drags him away. Eris says she has a surprise. His family couldn't come because of monsters on the road. Hilda hugs him, putting his head between her breasts, and says they consider him a son. She suggests Eris marry him. Eris gets flustered, saying they're too young. Her mother is dragged away too. Eris presents a powerful staff called the King Dragon's Arrogance, or Aqua Hardia. Rudeus knows it's worth a fortune. She says he should just enjoy it. They party all night. Later, Ghislain takes Eris to bed. Rudeus talks with Philip. Eris had 2 brothers who went to the capital, as all Boreas men become family heads. Philip says Hilda initially hated Rudeus. If her sons had to leave, why accept another boy? Then Philip gets serious and asks if Rudeus intends to marry Eris and take control of the Boreas family. He even offers to let Rudeus have his way with her if he wants. Rudeus thinks he can't be serious. He doesn't want to be in the middle of this political struggle. He tells Philip to pretend they never had this conversation. He goes to his room. Eris is there. She says she'll sleep with him. He wonders if her father convinced her. He thinks about taking advantage, touches her a bit, and she beats him up, saying he went too far. She leaves. He realizes she just didn't want him to be alone on his birthday. He decides to apologize. She comes back and says she'll make an exception. She gives him a small hope. In 5 years, he can do whatever he wants. He needs to control himself until then. He agrees. She leaves. He's happy, then remembers Sylph. Meanwhile, Paul is fighting creatures, regretting not being at his son's birthday. Sylph visits the Greyrat house. The sisters have grown. Sylph gives Lilia a necklace to give to Rudeus. Lilia says she also has something valuable to send. Zenith says Sylph took Rudeus's departure well and learned to defend herself from bullies. Paul arrives. They see strange clouds in the distance. Roxy from the kingdom of Chiron senses a strange presence in the Asura kingdom. In the mountains, a man is attacked by a dragon. Seeing a mark on his face, the dragon leaves. The man is Orsted, the dragon god, cursed to be hated by all. He says something went wrong. He senses a massive accumulation of mana in one place. Elsewhere, a girl introduces herself as Demon Empress Kishirika Kishirisu. She senses the mana accumulation and decides to meet whoever cast such a spell. On the floating fortress, a mysterious man orders someone to investigate and eliminate the caster. Someone might be trying to break the seal on the demon god Laplace. Back with Rudeus, he's testing his new staff in a field. He casts a water spell and realizes it uses little mana. He decides to teach his most powerful attack, Cumulonimbus. As he charges mana, the strange sphere in the sky opens several mana portals. Ghislaine says they should return to town. They're hit by an impact from the sphere. A masked man appears, calling himself Almanfi the Radiant. He's been sent by Perugias to eliminate whoever caused the summoning. Ghislaine identifies herself as a royal warrior and says they're not responsible. Almanfi leaves. The sphere disappears, absorbing all mana and creating a massive explosion. They're caught in it. Rudeus wakes up in his old body from his past life. He thinks he died a second time. A man appears calling himself Hitogami, a human god. He says he's been watching Rudeus's life and found it interesting. He's here to help. Rudeus gets aggressive, thinking his new life was just a dream and he's actually dead. Hitogami says it's not a dream, he really reincarnated. Rudeus asks why he has his old body now. Hitogami says that's how his mental form appears. When he wakes up, he'll have his current body again. Hitogami is friendly but says Rudeus might die because the demon continent is hostile with little food and water. The mana calamity transported him elsewhere. He advises Rudeus to trust and help someone he'll meet. Rudeus wakes up. Eris is resting next to him. There's a campfire. Ghislaine is nowhere. In front of him is a Superd. He's scared, remembering the stories, but greets him in demon tongue. The Superd is surprised. He says he fell from the sky and lit a fire to keep them warm. He asks if Rudeus isn't afraid. Rudeus thanks him for saving his life. The Superd introduces himself as Ruyard Superdia. Rudeus asks where they are. Ruyard says the northeast of the demon continent. Rudeus wonders how long it will take to get home. Ruyard kindly offers to accompany them to their lands because abandoning them would ruin the Superd's reputation further. Eris wakes up and screams in fear. Ruyard says that's a normal reaction. He likes Rudeus because he didn't react that way. Eris tries to introduce herself but trembles. She admits her mother lied. Everyone in the kingdom told children that Superds would eat them if they didn't sleep early. They become friends. Rudeus thinks he must get Eris home safely. Days later, they reach a village. A guard stops them, saying they're suspicious. Ruyard tries to reason, and the guard says he'll get his leader. Rudeus is confused because the guard doesn't move. Ruyard can communicate telepathically. The village leader, Rowan, appears. He notices the pendant Rudeus wears. Rudeus says his teacher Roxy gave it to him. A man with them says Roxy is his daughter. That's Rowan, Roxy's father. Rudeus realizes he's in his teacher's hometown. He sees many girls who look like Roxy. Rowan says the Meagard live about 200 years. He hasn't seen his daughter in 20 years. She'd be about 44 now. That night, they talk. Ruyard plans to take them home and protect them. Rowan says it will be difficult because Ruyard can't enter cities. He also reveals that 10 years ago, Ruyard saved a girl. When it comes to children, he goes blind and would kill everyone in a city to save them. Rowan says Ruyard's goal is to restore the Superd's bad reputation. Ruyard gets angry and says it was all the demon god Laplace's plan. Laplace betrayed them, giving them cursed spears containing their souls. The war was over 400 years ago. When they took the spears, they started killing everyone, including their own families. Ruyard is the leader of the Superds, wants to recover their lost reputation. Rudeus feels empathy and says he'll help Ruyard with all his being. The next day, they say goodbye. Rowan's wife, Rokari, looks young but is 102 years old. She asks Rudeus to tell her daughter to visit. He agrees and jokes he can call her father-in-law. Her mother is happy, but her toxic father says no. They give them a sword and other items. Ruijerd will help from outside villages and Rudeus from inside. Days later, they have to hunt for food. Eris now uses the sword. They reach mountains. Ruijerd says beyond them is the city of Rikarisu. They see demons different from the Meagred and Supered. Rudeus overhears someone mention Dead End. He asks Ruijerd, who says that's what they call him in some areas. His name means something like meeting death. Ruijerd can't enter, but Rudeus has an idea. They pass the guard without issue. The city is enormous. They go to the Adventurers Guild. Rudeus wants to earn money. Everyone stares. They're scared because a Supered is with them. Ruijerd appears with his hair dyed a different color, and everyone thinks it's a joke. Supereds are known for green hair. Rudeus's plan works. They register as adventurers. The group is called Dead End. They laugh. They're assigned F rank, so they can't take monster quests. A beastman mocks them, saying they should take a quest to find a lost kitten. They leave. At an inn, while Rudeus checks them in, some demons approach Eris. She doesn't understand them. One named Kurt grabs her shoulder, breaking the clasp of the hood Rudeus bought her. She beats him up. Rudeus heals him and apologizes. Kurt invites Rudeus to join their team. He refuses. He says he'll regret it. They'll become famous. The other demons introduce themselves as Bachiro and Goblin. That night, Rudeus worries about money. He falls asleep and dreams of Hitogami, who congratulates him for following his advice about trusting Ruijerd. He has another piece of advice. Take the quest to find the lost kitten. It will solve all his problems. Rudeus wakes up and thinks that quest won't get them out of poverty. He sees Eris awake. She asks if they'll ever get home. The next day, they search for the kitten using Ruijerd's third eye. They track it to a cave that smells terrible. Inside is a large panther and other animals. They sense several people. Beastmen appear, harassing the animals. They steal creatures. The group neutralizes them. Rudeus approaches one to talk, and the man hits him. Ruijerd gets angry and cuts off the demon's head. Rudeus says that only worsens the Supered's reputation and asks him not to kill anyone else. The men explain they steal creatures to later find them and claim rewards. Ruijerd wants to kill them. Rudeus steps between them and asks their rank. They're D rank. Rudeus invites them to join his group. Ruijerd is furious, saying he won't work with pet thieves. Rudeus argues that since they're D rank, they can take better paying quests. Ruijerd reluctantly agrees. Later, outside the guild, the Beastmen say they've raised the group's rank to A rank, as Rudeus requested. They'll take a B rank mission and swap it with Rudeus's F rank, making a lot of money quickly. Rudeus tells them to advertise the good name of the Dead End Guild, hinting at consequences if they refuse. A beastman named Nokopara appears, asking if they're bothering the newbies. They say nothing, and he leaves. Back in Asura, Roxy arrives looking for Rudeus. She sees many injured people and a board full of missing persons, but rejoices that Rudeus and his family aren't on it. Over the next weeks, Rudeus's group completes many missions. One morning, they take a quest to find a monster in the petrified forest. Rudeus thinks defeating it will give them financial stability. Kurt's group is also there, mocking them. They say whoever finds and defeats the monster first gets the reward. They run off. Ruijerd suggests helping them. Rudeus says they'll follow and only intervene if necessary. They see a giant anaconda and other monsters surrounding Kurt's group. Ruijerd wants to go immediately. Rudeus refuses, thinking they should wait until the group is in real danger so they'll be grateful. He'll use healing magic if needed, but things go wrong. One of Kurt's members is literally cut in half and flies through the air. Ruijerd and Iris rush in and kill the creatures. Rudeus stares at the body, realizing it's his fault for delaying. Ruijerd pins him against a wall in anger. Kurt takes the blame, saying it was his decision to come here, and without Rudeus's group, all three would be dead. Later, Kurt and his remaining companion leave for the city. Rudeus's group climbs a hill and hears fighting. They find many adventurer corpses and a giant red-hooded snake. Ruijerd says he never expected such a creature. They coordinate an attack, and Rudeus kills it with a powerful fire spell. But they arrive too late. All the knights are dead. Back at the guild, Nokopara is waiting. He says he got information from the others about what they're doing with the quests and threatened to revoke their licenses if they told. He demands half their earnings for the month. Rudeus is deeply disappointed. Nothing has gone as planned. He thinks about what he'll do to protect Iris, even if it means betraying Ruijerd and destroying the whole city. The sky darkens with his anger. Ruijerd notices and pours water on his head, washing away the dye. Nokopara sees he's the real Dead End and screams that he's a Supered. Everyone runs. Ruijerd grabs Nokopara by the collar and threatens him.
They'll leave the city. If they hear that their license has been suspended in the next city, he'll come back personally to end him. He jumps away.
Kurt and his companion are terrified but apologize, remembering Rudeus saved their lives. They leave. Eris and Rudeus go to find Rudeus. Rudeus apologizes for only thinking about making money and improving Rudeus' reputation. Rudeus says it's his own fault for not understanding how much Rudeus cared. He saw Rudeus' determination when he was angry and ready to kill Nokopara. He knows Rudeus was willing to protect Eris, and that makes him a warrior. They laugh and shake hands in friendship. The next morning, Rudeus has shaved his head. He knows people are afraid of his hair. Rudeus completes his new look with a bandana to hide his forehead gem. Now he can pass unnoticed. Months later, they reach a large coastal city. Meanwhile, a man named Thondo is with Roxy and another girl named Elinalise. They're at the same port where Rudeus is, but they don't see each other. Rudeus' group talks to a boat owner about crossing the ocean. Because Rudeus is a demon, they're quoted an exorbitant price. They return to lunch, wondering how to make money. They decide to stay a while. That night, Rudeus falls asleep and enters Hitogami's dream. The god says it's been a year since their last meeting. The last advice got him into trouble with the pet thieves. He gives new advice: buy food from a street vendor and walk through a dark alley. Rudeus asks what will happen. Hitogami says it'll be a surprise. The next day, Rudeus and Eris train on the beach. Rudeus senses someone watching. It's Roxy, spying. She hides. Eris manages to land a hit on Rudeus. Rudeus follows the god's advice, buys food, and walks through an alley. He hears someone having sex and happily continues. Roxy runs past behind him without noticing. He encounters a person begging for food and hears a girl's voice saying she's resurrected after 300 years and doesn't want to die hungry. Rudeus realizes this is the proof Hitogami mentioned. He gives her food. It's Kishirika. She introduces herself. Rudeus thinks she's delusional from hunger, playing along as the demon empress. He kneels and welcomes her back. She thanks him for saving her life and offers him a wish. He jokingly asks for lots of money and half the world, then says he wants her body. She thinks he's a pervert for his age and starts to lower her pants, but stops, saying she's saving herself for marriage. He asks what she can give. She offers one of her demon eyes. She lunges at him and implants a demon eye. He sees double. She leaves. Now he has the foresight eye. While walking through the market, a man tells him to watch where he's going because his new eye needs adjustment. Rudeus sees a vision of the man about to be hit by a falling clay jar. He pushes the man aside. A woman apologizes. Rudeus can now see 1 second into the future. He returns to the inn and tells the group. Rudeus says he's never seen the demon empress, but knows her legend. She has 12 magic eyes that let her see practically everything. Rudeus spends a week adjusting to his eye. After a week, he and Eris train on the beach. He's getting used to it. Eris attacks, but he predicts all her moves. He can even see 2 seconds ahead with concentration. He easily defeats her. She accepts defeat and offers her hand. It's a trap, but he predicts that too. She leaves sad. Rudeus says he once knew a superd with a demon eye who died before mastering it. Mastering it in a week makes Rudeus incredibly talented. Rudeus asks if he can beat Rudeus. They try, but he loses. That night, Eris is sad because no matter how hard she tries, she can't reach Rudeus' level. Later in bed, Rudeus regrets celebrating his victory over her. He thinks they shouldn't be training, they need to get her home. He sneaks out, but Rudeus catches him. Rudeus confesses he's thinking of selling the staff Eris gave him. Rudeus scolds him, saying he knows Rudeus is trying hard to get them across the sea, but he should accept help from others. Rudeus says he has no other options. Rudeus says selling the staff would break the group's trust. What would Eris think? Rudeus agrees to find another way. They notice someone spying. It's the man he saved in the market, named Gallus Cleaner. He came to thank him. And that's where the anime ends. If you made it this far, you've just witnessed the most perverted, heartfelt, and unexpectedly brilliant isekai ever made. Rudeus Greyrat went from a 34-year-old virgin loser to a child prodigy mage, from a creepy panty thief to a man willing to protect his friends at any cost. He still has a long way to go, but that's what makes this story special. It's not about instant power, it's about growth, redemption, and second chances. If you want more deep dives into anime that actually have character development instead of just flashy fights, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for Curious Nerd right now.
We break down the smartest strategies, the most twisted plots, the most devastating character arcs, and everything in between that other channels won't touch because they're too busy churning out surface-level content. Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment from Mushoku Tensei. Mine is definitely when Rudeus accidentally discovers silent casting while staring at Roxy's panties. Smash that like button if you cried at any point during this series. Thanks for watching, and remember, even a complete degenerate can find redemption if he tries hard enough. See you in the next one.